Hilary Putnam's Semantic Externalism. Hilary Putnam's concept of semantic externalism fundamentally reshapes our understanding of how meaning and reference work in language. At its core, this theory challenges the idea that the meanings of our words and the thoughts in our minds are entirely determined by what is happening inside our heads. Instead, Putnam argues that these meanings are also shaped by factors external to us, by the actual objects and experiences in the world with which we interact. To illustrate this idea, Putnam introduces several thought experiments, two of which involve a Martian and a brain in a vat BIV. These scenarios are designed to show how our connection to the external world influences our ability to refer to and understand things around us. First, consider the Martian who happens to observe a paint blob on an alien landscape. By coincidence, this blob produces a mental image in the Martian's mind that looks like a palm tree. However, the crucial point is that the Martian has never seen or interacted with a real palm tree, nor has he encountered anyone who has. So, while the Martian might form an image similar to what we picture when we think of a palm tree, Putnam argues that the Martian doesn't really understand what a palm tree is because he has no causal connection to actual palm trees. This leads us to Putnam's famous brain in a vat scenario. Imagine a brain that is kept alive in a vat and connected to a supercomputer that feeds it experiences indistinguishable from real-life experiences. The brain might have thoughts that seem just like ours, such as thinking that is a palm tree. However, since the brain has no real connection to the world, no actual interaction with palm trees, the term palm tree in the BIV's mind doesn't really refer to actual palm trees. Instead, it refers only to whatever signals the computer is feeding it. Thus, even though the BIV's language might sound like ours, its words lack the true reference that our words have because they are disconnected from the external world. Putnam uses these scenarios to argue for semantic externalism, the idea that the meanings of our words and the thoughts in our minds are not solely determined by internal mental states, but are also shaped by the external world and our interactions with it. For example, your understanding of what a bank is likely involves a rich array of experiences: visiting a bank, depositing money, taking out a loan. These experiences tie your use of the word bank to real-world institutions. In contrast, someone who has only heard about banks but never interacted with one will have a very different, perhaps less complete, understanding of the word. Hilary Putnam's exploration of semantic externalism offers a powerful response to the skeptical challenges posed by Cartesian thought, particularly the notorious brain in a vat BIV scenario. His approach fundamentally shifts the debate from an internalist perspective, where knowledge and meaning are entirely determined by what is happening inside our minds, to an externalist perspective, where our understanding of the world is deeply intertwined with our interactions with the external environment. Semantic externalism and skepticism. Putnam's externalism directly confronts the skeptic's claim that we might be just brains in vats, unable to truly know anything about the external world. The traditional skeptical argument suggests that because our sensory experiences could be the product of an elaborate deception, like a BIV scenario, we cannot be sure that anything we believe about the world is true. In other words, the skeptic argues that if we were BIVs, our experiences would be indistinguishable from those of a person who is not a BIV, leading us to question whether we can ever have justified true beliefs about the world. Putnam challenges this view by arguing that if we were BIVs, our words and thoughts would not refer to the same things they do in the actual world. For example, when we, as non-BIverses, say the word tree, we are referring to the physical objects in the world that we call trees. However, if we were BIVs, our word tree wouldn't refer to actual trees, but rather to whatever computational processes or signals in the vat world create the illusion of trees. Therefore, even the very statement, "I am a BIV," would not mean what we think it does. It would not accurately refer to the condition of being a brain in a vat in the same way we understand it. To further clarify his position, Putnam introduces a disjunctive argument. He suggests that either we are BIVs, in which case our language and thoughts would be fundamentally different from what we think they are, or we are not BIVs, and our words and thoughts do refer to real-world objects. If we are not BIVs, our statements about being BIVs are simply false because we are using language that accurately refers to the external world. This argument demonstrates that the skeptical scenario fails to undermine our knowledge because the skeptic's own terms don't work the way they claim in a BIV scenario. Putnam also proposes simpler arguments. These arguments focus on the nature of reference and thought content. The first argument argues that if you were a BIV, your words wouldn't refer to actual objects like trees, but since you do mean actual trees when you talk about them, you cannot be a BIV. The second argument follows a similar line, suggesting that if you were a BIV, you wouldn't be able to think about actual trees, but since you were thinking about actual trees, you must not be a BIV. Both arguments aim to show that our ability to refer to and think about the world as we do proves that we are not trapped in a skeptical scenario. This externalist view suggests that our knowledge is inherently tied to the real world, and as such, the skeptic's argument that we could be deceived about everything falls apart. If our words and thoughts are shaped by the world around us, then even the act of doubting the external world relies on the very connection to the world that the skeptic tries to deny.